company known as Trevcar Motors back in the 1940s, or TVR as we know today, began in 1946 in Blackpool. TVR at this time was a car repairs business instead of a car manufacturer, and the founder of TVR named Trevor Wilkinson, hence the name of Trevcar and TVR. Exactly a year after launch, TVR renamed themselves to be called TVR Engineering. In 1949, TVR launched its very first car, the TVR-1, powered by a 1.2 litre Ford engine. Nine years later, in 1958, the first well-known TVR was made, the Grand Tourer. The TVR Grand Tourer was what most people would call the first TVR, but it technically wasn't. The production of the TVR Grand Tourer was from 1958 to 1967. However, 4 years after the Grand Tourer was made, TVR became bankrupt and was saved by associate Grand Tourer Engineering. In 1963, just 1 year after they went bankrupt, TVR launched one of its most iconic cars ever made, the Griffith. TVR Griffith was one of TVR's best cars ever made, one of their best pieces of engineering, and they kept making them for 30 years. Until the Mark II was introduced at the beginning of the 1990s. In 1965, TVR decided to whack a Ford V8 into the Trident, and the 4.7 litre V8 was also put into the Griffith. In the early 1970s, TVR started to branch out into different parts of the country and set up a brand new factory in Bristol and improved their existing one already up in Blackpool. Just after TVR moved all their stuff into the new factories, they surprised their customers by launching the new Tanzim V8 and the Vixen. The Tanzim was one of TVR's greatest hits, being powered by a 2.8 litre V6 Ford engine and having a total output of 160 brake horsepower. Also in the 1970s, Chris Alford took one of the TVRs and decided to race in the Prod Sport Championship, and brought very good success for the company. In 1986, TVR entered again into the Motor Club Championship with Steve Cole at the wheel, winning an incredible 21 out of the 24 races. But after this, tragedy struck, with the event organisers noticing that TVR hadn't made enough road examples of the car, and as a result, TVR got banned. And then a couple of years later, TVR launched what I'm currently driving now, the TVR Chimera. And just then, a year later, TVR launched the Cerbera. In 2000, TVR launched the TVR Typhoon, which took the title of being the fastest TVR, being able to do 215 miles an hour. The TVR Typhoon was definitely one of TVR's greatest hits, with 400 horsepower and being able to do 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds, and being able to do 200 miles an hour. 2 years later, TVR launched the T350. The T350 came along, with a 3.6 litre engine and an overall weight of just over a tonne, and then 1 year after the T350, TVR made the Sagaris. In 2004, TVR was sold to a Russian inventor, Nikolai Sklemensky. It was at this time that customers from TVR decided to leave TVR and head to the success of the new Porsche Boxster. And then came the darkest time for TVR, a time when they did not make any cars for a decade. And suddenly, TVR then announced that they were working on a new car. And in 2018, the new TVR Griffith was launched at the Goodwood Revival.
Scary, but amazing experience. We spent 3 years in the planning, 2 years in the actual designing of it. Blood, sweat and tears, it's been there in spades. I can't tell you how proud I am of what we've achieved. It's a brave new world for TVR.
Just a quick recap from TVR's history. TVR has always been good at making sports cars. Sports cars from the Sagaris to the Grand Tourer. TVR's racing history has also been very great, with lots of people trying to race for TVR and bringing lots of good success for the company, including Steve Cole.
The
The reason I chose to do a short documentary on TVR is because of my personal interest in cars, and I thought that doing a documentary on the history of TVR would be interesting and different from the rest. Also, the filming would be quite easy considering we own a TVR and have access to a large plot of private land. The TVR that we own is a 1997 TVR Chimera, powered by a 5-litre V8 that can get from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds and can keep going all the way up to 174 miles an hour. This short film was filmed with 3 cameras. We used the Canon 1080p camcorder for most of the footage, a movie GoPro for the inside of the car footage, and a Canon 4K camera for the outside moving shots and close-up. We made the moving shots by me sitting in the back of our family car, a Porsche Cayenne, with a camera on a tripod filming the TVR and trying not to fall out of the boot. The way I film the audio is by having an external microphone plugged into my laptop, which was hidden behind the car out of shot. The software that I used to capture the audio was Open Broadcasting Software, or OBS for short, and then all of the audio was filmed with that, since it's better quality, and with the windscreen over it, it removed all of the wind noise.